This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host.
Good morning. It's my honor to be filling in for Terry today, and Arlen Specter did it a month ago, and this is equal time for the Democrats. But we're going to try to approach our issues in a very nonpartisan fashion and be as informative as we can for all of you viewers. 2 days from inaugurating a new president, it'll be obviously an historic occasion for the United States of America. But here in Pennsylvania, our thoughts are somewhat distracted, as a little later today, our two teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers, will be taking on teams in their respective conference championships, which leads the possibility of a Steelers-Eagles Super Bowl. First time, that would be the first time ever. And I want to ask our two guests, one from the East, T.J. Rooney, the State Democratic Party Chairman from Allentown, and Rob Gleason, the Republican Party Chairman from Johnstown. I want to ask them what their feelings are about the Steelers and Eagles' chances today.
Well, I think, I'm a great Steelers fan. I have been for many years. I think they have a good chance. But beating a team 3 times is a very difficult in any type of sport. So we're ready. I was there last weekend. It's going to be freezing out. It's kind of weather we like. Of course, Baltimore probably likes it too.
Cold weather team.
Yeah, it's going to be a heck of a match. But it would be wonderful to have a Turnpike Super Bowl. It
really would. We used to kid around. Mike Fisher and I used to kid around about canceling the site and moving the game to State College, where we could sell 45,000 more tickets.
Oh, easy.
Well, TJ, what do you think from an Eastern perspective?
Well, obviously, being in the Eagles' backyard, they train in my hometown in Bethlehem at Lehigh University, so we have a great feeling for the Eagles. But as Rob said, going into Arizona and beating a team for the 3rd time, the line, as it sits today, 3 points, that seems to me to be a bit of a sucker bet. So I'm obviously rooting for an all-Pennsylvania Super Bowl. I love the Steelers' chances. I love the Steelers, and having grown up in New York, I have to confess to being a Giant fan. Whoa. So I may be asked to leave the set. I understand all that. But well, it would be great for Pennsylvania.
It would be great not only for the state, but the city of Tampa would be besieged by tens of thousands of Eagle and Steeler fans who don't have tickets, actually.
Right.
And I've offered Governor Christ, if that eventuality occurs, the Pennsylvania National Guard.
You may need it.
Come and keep the peace. Well, let's turn our focus now
to Governor Christ from Altoona.
Yes, he's in Altoona.
Yeah,
right, absolutely.
So he'll be very interested.
He's a good man, Charlie, good man. Well, let's turn our attention to our new President-elect Obama. It's been a interesting transition, to say the least, and I'd like to get your viewpoint, both as partisans but as just individuals, about how you feel the transition has gone and the marks you would give President-elect Obama and the team that he's assembled. TJ, we'll start with you, and then we'll hear from the loyal opposition.
No, I give the president and his newly minted administration and staff high marks for what they've done. They've also, I think, the American people, I think, have given this administration perhaps a little more latitude than other incoming presidents have been given, considering the tremendous challenges that we face. So in terms of the nominees, I think they represent great diversity. I think they represent a great depth of knowledge. I'm really excited about the all-star team that he's put together, and I give kudos and props to the Republicans who understand that that we need to work together and to fix these problems, and to give the president his opportunity to put his team in place is something that I think is not only good for the president but good for the American people.
Well, I think he's put together a pretty good team. Of course, as the loyal opposition, we're going to take a hard look at a couple of those people that have been put up. A couple questions have arisen. As the one Secretary Treasurer, I think, has
the tax.
Yeah, his tax problem. And Holden, I think there's some things that they're talking about him even about. So. And that's what the Senate should do. That's what the other party should do. They should look at them pretty hard.
They have an obligation to do it.
But, the president has, he certainly has the right to choose his team. And, in fact, we all know that a president is probably as good as the team that he puts together and puts on the field.
There's no question about that.
So I think that's been a pretty good team. And, this is a tough time for America. And we need to really work together and be positive.
Interestingly, the only real source of criticism that the president-elect has gotten is from the Democratic left, who feel that the team is too moderate or too made up of Clinton folks who worked in the Clinton administration. Rob, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, Barack Obama's a young man. You know, he hasn't really developed a lot of relationships in his life. I mean, he was a state senator, 6 years ago?
Right.
So, I mean, who are you going to look towards? You're going to look towards the last Democrat president who had a lot of tested people, and I'm not a bit surprised that he brought the Clinton people in. It's probably a good thing because they're very well experienced in what they do.
TJ, what do you think?
Welcome to Washington, Mr. President-elect. You know, get used to it. And I think, and I mean this in all sincerity, I hope for nothing but the best, but, you know, when you think about the campaign, I think Senator and President-elect Obama was given a wide berth in terms of being scrutinized by the national media. So the fact that some of his colleagues and friends from within his own party raised these questions, it's going to be interesting to see, especially early on, how this administration handles it.
Sometimes you have to worry about your own supporters more than the opposition.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to come back after the break and talk about the first major challenge that the president-elect will face, the president, and that's the economic recovery. But we're going to take a brief break.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by PAConstructionJobs.com. For more information about rewarding careers in the highway construction industry, visit PAConstructionJobs.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Well, this is, I think we'll all agree, been an unusual transition because the country is faced with such a very deep and serious recession, and the president-elect's been asked and has aggressively put together an economic recovery program. The issue that seems to be percolating before the Congress is, again, what will that recovery program look like, what components will be in it. But the question has been raised by some conservative Democrats, but mainly a number of conservative Republicans. Should we be spending upwards of $1 trillion, $775 billion to $1 trillion on an economic recovery program, or is that going to put us deeper in debt to a point when it's going to make it difficult for us to recover? Again, from the Republican perspective, there's not unanimity. But, Rob, what are you hearing from Republicans in D.C. about the recovery plan? Well,
I mean, there are a lot of questions about it, and many people feel we shouldn't be bailing people out, bailing out banks, bailing out the auto industry. I mean, you know, a lot of small businessmen here in Pennsylvania are knowing that they would not be bailed out if they had a problem, and we all understand there's lots of jobs at stake.
But of course, that bailout, in fairness to President Obama, that bailout took place under President
there's no
Bush.
question about that. And there was not unanimity amongst Republicans on that, and in the Congress, too. And as we move forward, there's going to be pressure for more automobile company bailouts. So this was just the beginning of the monies they got now. So I think that, you know, the Republicans always come from the side that we would like to reduce taxes. And I like the fact that Obama, his plan is not all just giving money away, but he said he wanted to have tax reductions.
Significant,
because,
upwards of $300 billion.
Absolutely. And, you know, we have always felt that that's what creates jobs at last. But the real big problem here, and you know this yourself, is that this is going to create some serious problems downwind with inflation. You know, the only way we're going to pay for this is with inflation that's going to have to come when we start to pay these loans back, or these the bailout back. And so I think there's a lot of questions, and I don't think it's going to be a slam dunk for the Republicans or Democrats to approve the bailout plan as it sits today.
Well, but clearly there's a need for speed, and I think everyone recognizes that. TJ, how do you think this is going to shake out, and do you think the president-elect's plans to have a recovery at this level make sense?
No, I absolutely do. This is, in my lifetime, this is the deepest, most profound recession that I've ever witnessed. And that, you know, so many people out of work, so many people losing their homes, something needs to be done. And I understand, Robin, you know, that there is some concern about what it might lead to down the road, but we have got to stimulate this economy. We have got to jumpstart this economy. So I think it's incumbent upon the president-elect and his new administration to go out and tell that story in very plain, simple, easy-to-understand ways, what it means. When we give a bailout to this automaker, what does that mean to the guy who makes the parts in the warehouse in Cuyahoga County, Pennsylvania? What does it mean? You know, if you can make those connections, draw those those parallels and put it all together, then I think it stands a great chance of success. But it needs to be communicated well and understood by the American people, because there are a lot more people hurting today than at any time, and certainly in our recent past. And if we don't do anything, the problems are only going to get deeper and worse.
And it's interesting, even conservative economists say that it is worth going into more significant debt because we have to have spending to revitalize the economy. Mr. Feldstein, who was John McCain's chief economic advisor, he advocated $1 trillion recovery plan. And not bailout for financial institutions or even the auto industry, but things that will create jobs, things that will give money to people that hopefully they'll spend and
I think we all
reinvest.
agree with that, Governor. And a lot of it will come to you too, because I know that the money's going to come to states.
To some extent,
we have to do
of course, we're not even totally sure of that.
No, I know that, but I'm sure that when it comes to Pennsylvania, you certainly are going to be able to weigh in. So a lot, how do you feel about it, and how would you spend money to help jump the
Well, I would be heavy on the infrastructure side, because I think that's where the greatest return on our investment is. It creates the most jobs, number one, quickly, and number two, it creates orders for Pennsylvania companies, steel companies, asphalt companies, concrete companies, timber companies, you name it, electrical supply companies. So I'd like to see, I'm for giving tax cuts that can help stimulate the economy, but I'd like to see a large percentage, probably larger than President Obama is going to do, devoted to infrastructure. He understands the need for job creation, but I'm not sure that component is going to get the funding necessary.
It might be, Governor, it has to flow through the states. I mean, you have spent 6 years analyzing and assessing, and your colleagues across America have done the same thing. The leaders of our states know their needs the best. And when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to our roads and bridges, something that's...
I think the infrastructure component to a great deal will flow through that. Well, it's interesting, and I think there's unanimity in D.C. About the need for something to get done.
Absolutely.
I think the Republican Party has, by and large, Senator McConnell and Representative Bonnier have acted in a responsible fashion here. Mm-hmm. When we get back, we're going to look even beyond the economic recovery. What are the long-range challenges for the Obama administration? What goals does he have for the country, and are those goals achievable? Things like national health insurance. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back to wrestle with those issues.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
I was asked by a reporter, a Hasburg reporter, what would my goals be for the Obama administration, looking beyond the economic recovery. And I know it's hard to do because that's the seminal issue and the most important issue. But, TJ, if you were to chart out what you'd like to see the Obama administration do, and I'm going to confine it to domestic, what are the things you'd like to see the administration achieve?
Well, clearly we still in this nation face a health care crisis that needs some real innovative solutions. Education is also an area where if we can continue and increase the investments we make in Head Start and early education initiatives to allow our kids to be able to be in a position as they matriculate through school to get a good job and sustain our economy going forward. But I think, certainly health care, education, and of course the environment, as we talk just in Pennsylvania alone with the Marcellus Shale. There's so many other, really, as you said, seminal issues that need to be dealt with. My hope and my prayer for the nation is, and for the incoming president, is that they'll be able to get to those things. And I think we've seen the president kind of downplay expectations on those other things so far. But hopefully, as Rob has indicated, the Congress will get behind him. They'll be able to make some serious progress on the economy and then quickly turn their attention to the other really important things that need to be addressed.
Yeah, and the problem seems to me, Rob, and I'd like your thoughts on this. The problem seems to be that the issues that Senator Obama talked about during the campaign, solving those is a lot harder now because of the nation's financial condition. Like take, for example, national health insurance. I think everyone would like to see Americans get better and more cost-effective health care. But how do we do it in the context of this deep economic hole that we're in?
Well, it's very, very difficult, and it will not happen until the people want it to happen. The people who are paying the bills, the people who are using the health care system. As you know, Ed, everybody in our country can get health care. They can. If you walk in, they're not going to turn you away. And we have the greatest health care system in the country, in the world. Nobody leaves the United States for health care. They all come here. And I don't think the people are ready to start to not invest in new procedures, new technology. I mean, just at the University of Pennsylvania, that new giant cancer center, I mean, $500 million. Do we need that? Of course we do. We need to have fine health care. So I think it's a really difficult thing to pay for at this time. But I really think that really one of the major challenges he's going to face is in foreign affairs, because he doesn't have the experience in foreign affairs. And he picked Hillary Clinton to be his Secretary of State.
And, of course, Vice President
Biden. But, and Hillary, I mean, she doesn't really, she was a senator for a couple of years. So, we have diplomats and people who do this year after year. Now, it's amazing. Whenever you come to Harrisburg as a new person, or you go to Washington, the same gang is there all the time. They've been working, laboring in the vineyards forever and ever and ever. And, of course, what you do and what the president does is provide leadership.
Set the tone, right?
Yeah. And so I'm very worried about some of the challenges that Barack Obama, President-elect, is
going to
face.
On the foreign side, I think, though, he's put together a great team. Not only does he have the Vice President Biden, who I think was chosen because of his knowledge and experience in foreign affairs. Senator Clinton has been on the Foreign Relations Committee for 8 years now, and both sides give her tremendous credit for the work that she's done and the knowledge she's accumulated. But keeping Secretary Gates on at Defense, the general that he put in charge of national security, I think, interestingly, I'm more confident that we'll be successful in the field of foreign affairs, as Lindsey Graham reported when he came back from Pakistan and Afghanistan with Senator Biden. He reported that there's such a groundswell of support and goodwill directed around the world towards the incoming president, President Obama, that I'm confident we'll do well in foreign affairs and we'll make progress and we'll become an international leader again. But problems like health care, you're absolutely right that health care is available for everybody. But the question is, can they afford it? The key is accessibility to affordable health care. If you've got breast cancer and you're uninsured, you could get health care. But you get it at a level, Rob, that you literally have to be almost a millionaire to be able to afford it. And I think that's a challenge that won't wait. We're seeing in Pennsylvania more and more people losing their employer-based health insurance. Since 2000, about 500,000 Pennsylvanians have lost employer-based health insurance. So I think that's something that we may have to bear the cost of, because it's so important.
Or at the very least, give you and your colleagues across America the resources to do it. I mean, the adult basic care in Pennsylvania. I mean, there are ways that you can, if the federal government is either unwilling or incapable, perhaps, of tackling it on its own. I think many people would prefer to see a universal solution. But, in the alternative, because the demands, like you said, are there. You need to get people these services and this health care.
But we're wrestling with the same thing that Rob talked about. We have a budget crisis. Pennsylvania is doing better than most big states, but it's still a tough budget crisis. And I'm having to wrestle with, do I expand adult basic health care? That'll mean making cuts in higher education. Or do I not expand health care to working Pennsylvanians and not make some of those other cuts? So it's a difficult problem. The economy is setting the context for all of this. And, the good news for President Obama was he got elected president. The bad news was he got elected president.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back, and we're going to spend our last few minutes talking a little bit about Pennsylvania politics. Who better to talk about Pennsylvania politics than our two chairmen?
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Penn Future, where we believe that every environmental victory grows the economy, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
Well, there's a big development this week in Pennsylvania politics when Chris Matthews, the political talk show host, announced that he was not going to run for the United States Senate against our incumbent Senator Arlen Specter. I want to start with Rob. That's obviously good news for Senator Specter. First and foremost, do you foresee that he'll be challenged again in the Republican primary? No,
I don't see that happening. I think that Arlen Senator Specter's worked very hard. He's traveled the Commonwealth like he always does. You know, before I got real active in politics, I thought he was from Johnstown. I mean, he just travels everywhere. Yeah. You know, when they say, where's Arlen Specter from? He's from Pennsylvania. He's been around so long. Remarkable. He's done a good job. Sure, not everybody likes the way he has voted on every issue, but he works very hard for Pennsylvania.
So you really don't foresee a challenge?
No,
from the right,
I really don't.
like
I haven't heard of any yet. You know, I mean, it could always happen. There's some tough votes he's going to have to make in the next few months that
sure.
You know, might bring somebody in, but I really haven't heard of anybody. I mean, his challenge will be to win in the general.
And he's always been a tough general election candidate. TJ, are there any Democrats on the horizon yet who you think could pose a serious threat to our own?
Oh, there certainly are. Some have been talked about. Some, I think, are still in the wings. But that's quite frankly why I thought well of Chris's potential candidacy. I think because, as Rob explained, Arlen is such a name household brand in Pennsylvania. You needed a little bit of a different campaign. The same run-of-the-mill Democrat versus Arlen Specter campaign. Obviously, we've learned over 30 years doesn't cut it.
And Joe Huffle, a respected congressman with a good base in the southeast portion of the state, ran against Arlen and got killed.
And it's hard. And when Arlen Specter is the general election nominee, you know, oftentimes you see labor retreat and not support the
traditional Democratic
and that can really put a big hole in a boat.
Well, we'll see. A great thing about Pennsylvania politics is that there's never a dull moment, and 2010 promises to be an interesting year. But we have to get through 2009, and we're all looking forward with hope and enthusiasm to the inauguration of the new president, and we'll stay tuned and see what happens. But good luck to Barack Obama, our new president, and I know the nation's hopes and dreams go with him.